I am so unbiased. I am so accepting. And I don't understand that whole problem that people have. So I do my best in my business and my life to be a positive influence to accept people for who they are on the inside. To be encouraged that if they're in a bad situation, there is light on the other side. Or if they are looking to make life changes, that there may be some guidance in there. So, what I wanted to do for people is help embolden them in their life to get that courage, to build their confidence in who they are and what they do.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode, whatever it is. Can't even remember what episode we're on now. But this is part two. I'm with Janice Debo, and the first part of this is where we're talking about how she went from an e-commerce brand to a coach. I know it's a bit of a mindset switch, but the challenges from there, the fear, the understanding that she was meant for more, into a bigger version of herself. But I want to backtrack way back when. Now, you grew up in North Carolina, and you were growing up the daughter of a preacher. What the hell was that all like? Because that's just a complete and a foreign world to me, and to whoever's listened to this going, preacher daughter, what the hell? What was that like?
Oh, when you're a kid, you don't know any different. You think everything is like that across the board. We moved a lot. My dad was in the Methodist church, and I don't know what they do nowadays, but when I was growing up, if the preacher resonated with the congregation, then he would tend to stay longer. Well, my dad was a bit of a rebel, so I have to say, I kind of got that independent rebel tendency from him, I'm sure. Apparently, he didn't get along with everybody because we moved and moved and moved. I am in the process of doing a timeline on all of this. So I sort of go, oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. I think I went to 6 different schools growing up. And in doing so, I guess it could have been stressful. I was always having to make new friends. I was a kid. I didn't know about staying in touch with other friends. But we moved and moved and moved. And it seemed like when I was one of the toughest ones was when we moved from when I was in the 7th grade. We spent 1 year at the place that I was in the 8th grade, and that was it. Just 1 year, and that's a teenage year. I remember that was difficult because I had really good friends there, made them quickly, but then we got moved, and thankfully, I had to stay in one place for 4 years, so my dad did well. He behaved himself, I guess, and lived there for 4 years through high school, which was great. I was in the 9th grade in one school, but then the last 3 years of high school, I was in one school. And having the last 3 or 4 years really reconnected with some of those high school chums. And so it was tough in the sense that we were in the South. My parents, I don't remember a single word coming out of their mouth that was racist or anything. I was raised to accept people as people. But I was raised in a time of segregation. The culture was changing in the South. Yeah, being a preacher's kid, I got picked on a little bit. My siblings, I may have, I don't recall that they did, but I do remember getting picked on in the 9th grade, especially.
I'm coming from a place where I was bullied as well at school. I didn't call it bullying back then, it was called character building, and it certainly built character. But the whole thing, I wasn't in the US, I was in the UK, completely different culture. But what you're speaking into now is still, it still goes on in certain parts, and in America, it's hidden very well in lots of places, but it still happens.
Yes.
But you've lived through that era and you've seen the change happening. How have you helped enforce the change, not just within people you meet, but in your business as well? Because that was a hell of a background and a hell of a journey.
I am really, I've always accepted people. Some of my best friends are different skin color, to say the least, and close friends. As a matter of fact, one of my best friends in North Carolina was there for me 2 years ago when my mother was passing, and she would frequently go visit my mom, and she was like a sister from a different mother. I mean, she's very African American, but a sweet, sweet gal. It was the day before my mother passed, and I texted her and I said, "Mom's right on the edge. Is there any way you can go over there?" And personally speaking, I never even thought twice about it. She drove a half hour or 45 minutes one way to see my mom and get my mother on camera so I could say goodbye to her. She's just a very special friend, and I've never seen color or culture differences. I think the biggest culture difference I saw was when I got to Oregon. Now we're talking culture shock from North Carolina. Very big culture shock out here. And one of the funniest things, I swear I was here for a week or two at that time. And I'm married. That's how I got here. I got married to someone who lived here. I'm looking around and I'm like, what's wrong with this place? It looks so different to me. And it wasn't the landscape, it was the people of color weren't missing. And I'm like, what? That's so different. But I am so unbiased. I am so accepting. And I don't understand that whole problem that people have. So I do my best in my business and my life to be a positive influence to accept people for who they are on the inside and forget what they look like. I've even got a nephew that has mental problems, and I was his guardian for 5 years. I had to learn to be around, and he didn't live with me, but I had to learn how to adapt and work around people of nature of all kinds of things. And in the retirement home I mentioned in the last
Yeah,
I went into that and I was around people in their 80s and 90s every day. And let me tell you, they've learned their life lessons and it is worth listening to your elders. They were a hoot and a lot of fun. So I guess I grew up respecting my elders, respecting other people for who they were, period. And so in business, I do the same thing. It doesn't matter to me. It absolutely, if you've got a good character, it's going to be from here. If you've got bad character, it's going to be from here. It's not from the outside. So,
I love that. The other thing that strikes me as well with this, and I love the conversation about this, is you can really define where you're going with your own values. And you mentioned it earlier about making sure your values align with who you are and also who you want to become. And equally, you'll attract that backwards. It comes back to you in different ways.
yes.
You mentioned something earlier about the culture shifting. I think one thing has been lost in a lot of humanity, and not just this isn't just North America or another segregation. This is in humanity in general, and that's the division of people that are created by what they don't understand, and it's the fear that what they don't understand which makes them scared and makes them retaliate. One thing about entrepreneurship and working in these environments as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, operator, or however you define yourself, fear runs life. Fear will run you if you allow it.
Yeah.
But what will cure it is coming together with relationships. Now, you wrote a book, and it's about connections and confidence.
It is. Can you see this a little bit?
Yep, I'm gonna.
Yes, it's called Courage, Confidence, and Connections. And it's a journal. It's actually a journal. So I'm a big journal, right? I journal every day. I've got a big stack of them right over here next to me. I've been journaling for over 30 years and I took my blogs, which I have about 160 on my website, janicedebo.com. So I have about 160 blogs, and a good friend of mine, and this was someone from a bartering organization, speaking of bartering, we talked about before, and she said, you've got some barter dollars in your account. Do you want to use them and we'll publish a book? And I was like, why not? And she looked at my website. She goes, you pick out. We decided to go with a 90-day journal. I said, well, let's do 120. She goes, no, the book will be too big. So we went with 90. And the way the book is set up, it's one blog. And then on the other page, there are questions that relate to the blog that you can relate to your own life and you can journal about it and write about it. So it's a practical journal for personal development. And the name Courage, Confidence, and Connections came to me one day when I was just writing a blog. And it struck me really, really strongly that I decided to just make a note of it and see where it went. And next thing I know, last year I'm publishing a book by that name because my whole journey is relatable to courage, confidence, and connections. And I can relate pretty much my whole life on those three things.
I love that. So you're now coaching. You've gone to now you're a published author, which is fantastic. Congratulations. I know how that journey works. I know how scary it can be. Like, oh my God, people are going to read this. Oh no.
I know.
What the hell? I completely understand that. What is the aim of the book? What do you hope people are going to get from this?
Encouragement, which has the word courage in it, of
Yeah.
course, to be encouraged that if they're in a bad situation, there is light on the other side. Or if they are looking to make life changes, that there may be some guidance in there. So, what I wanted to do for people is help embolden them in their life to get that courage, to build their confidence in who they are and what they do. I'm a storyteller, and a lot of my blogs are stories, or they're based on music that I really like, or movies. I teach life lessons in my work to help people. It's like a path. So my book can provide a path for people, and you can choose if you don't want to go sequentially, you can look at a topic and simply go to that page and say, okay, this applies to me right now. But I want people to be encouraged to follow their own path. But even though we're following our own, we can learn from somebody else's.
Oh, no, that's great advice for anybody who's listening to this now going, well, I don't want to follow that. Follow your own path. But you can just use a tool like the Courage, Confidence, and Connections journal to actually do so. You obviously coach. Who are you coaching? What does this person look like? Who are you after?
Okay. I work with small to medium sized businesses and single business owners, entrepreneurs of all kinds. I've worked with a woman in construction. I've worked with realtors multiple times, mortgage brokers, people in transition from an office job to sales, or people in transition from one job to another. And they hire me to help them through transition times. I've worked with big companies and small. I also utilize probably the most fun thing that people love about what I do is my path elements assessment. And that is a personality type assessment based on earth, water, wind, and fire. The joke is the band, earth, wind, and fire, but they left water out. So what can I say? But the path elements is an assessment that tells you what your primary and secondary elements are and how they play a part in your life. And it helps me to assess and work best with a client. Let's say they're a fire. I'm water. I'm a real high water with what I do, with who I am. It shows you who you are, not what you do, but it shows you where you fit the best. So if I'm working with a fire, they're results oriented. They want to get it done. They want to get it done fast, like fire, fast and furious. I work within that to coach them according to their element. And I think, like a book, let's say Earth, a CPA or a bookkeeper would fall definitely in Earth. They're very results oriented because they want to see that bottom line and they want to get it done. So fire and earth are results oriented. Wind and water are relational. And of course, that explains a lot about who I am because I'm very relational. But with my elemental assessment, I'm able to determine the best way to work with teams and help build trust with teams, help improve communication, and help people understand on a team, especially what their coworker needs and how they need to be communicated with. There's so many problems with uh, companies cannot keep employees, and there's a lot of transition going on. And so, in that regard, I can come in with my assessments, find out where the problems are, and coach that team according to how to improve their communications with each other. Maybe that somebody's got a person in the wrong position. Maybe they've got an earth person they've got out in the field trying to sell. Well, that earth personality is not going to be comfortable with that. Or they've got a wind or a water sitting behind a desk trying to do the calculations and they're going stir crazy. So in looking at this assessment, I'm able to help a team, and the leadership teams are really good at this. Determine, do you have the right people in the right position, and how can you improve your communications? And I love the trust building effect with this particular assessment.
I like that. So, people, how can they get hold of you? Obviously, the website. You're up on LinkedIn. Or anywhere else you wish to just say about where they can get hold of you, where they can get the book, where they can get the assessment?
JaniceDebo.com, which is here. And you can go there. You can purchase my book there. You have to scroll down a little bit, but there is a free ebook if you want to get that first, or just go ahead and order the journal. If you order directly from my website, you'll get it from me and it will be signed to you. So you'll have an author's copy. And I always write a nice little note to everybody that buys one from me directly. And it is on Amazon, but you know, we authors like to self promote a little bit more. So go to my website and buy that there. It is an awesome book, even if I say so myself. I've had a lot of good comments on that. So you can also, if you're interested in being on a podcast, Baz, your turn's coming up soon in the fall. I always welcome people to contact me to be a guest. And as far as coaching on everything, if you don't know what you want, how you want to work with me, you can just send me an email for free consultation. I'll sit down with anybody for a half hour, 45 minutes, and determine if we're a good fit, if what I have to offer can be helpful. My website has a lot of information on it, and you can reach me through that for everything.
I love that. Janice, thank you very much for your time today, your love, your energy.
You.
It's a pleasure speaking
Thank
with you.
Well, it's been a pleasure on my end too. Thank you, Baz.
You're welcome. To everybody listening, thank you very much. You make the show, not me. I'm just part of the furniture. I just turn up and ask the questions, and I don't even look pretty on camera. So whatever you're here for, I hope you got what you feel you came here for. Please share the episode. Please inspire someone else's life. This is Rice from the Ashes. I'm Baz Porter. It's a pleasure and it's an honor. Have a great day on purpose. See you soon.